This review will cover the North Hollywood shootout. It took place at the Bank of America in North Hollywood, California on February 28th, 1997. And it all began around 9:17 when two bank robbers entered the bank, and one had full homemade body armor on, the other one had a bulletproof vest, and they were heavily armed. And during the process of this robbery and shootout, 12 police officers were injured and 8 civilians wounded, and both bank robbers were killed. And let me get a little more information about this on the screen here. One moment, please.
An American city is under siege.
We've had some very large shootouts, but this was bigger than any of them.
Two commando-style bank robbers ignite a savage shootout.
These suspects were using AK-47 assault rifles.
Wounded police and civilians are trapped in a war zone.
When I was shot, I wasn't going to lay there and resign myself to death. I was going to fight.
Now, the anatomy of the fiercest gun battle in U.S. police history. Shootout.
And that's a little more background there. As I said earlier, these bank robbers were heavily armed. They had armor-piercing bullets, and one had full homemade body armor. And the police, using their standard weapons, really didn't work against them. They actually had to go to a gun store and get better high-powered weapons to help in the shootout. And let me get a little more information on the screen here. One moment, please. Here's how the shooting progressed. One moment.
What? 9:25 a.m. Two psychos just robbed a Bank of America branch in North Hollywood, California. No one knows how many in the bank are dead or wounded. Now the terrorist-like suspects, Larry Phillips and his partner Emil Matasaranhu, have exited the bank. Larry's near the north door. Emil is located by the south door. Confronted by police, they ignite a melee using AK-47s and armor-piercing ammo.
We've had some very large shootouts, even within my department, through history. But I knew as this was happening, I knew this was bigger than any of them.
They were a deadly threat. They were shooting at police officers and civilians. And at no time do you say, hey, stop and put down your gun.
And that's a little more background. As you can see, the quality of the weaponry they used really created quite a chaotic situation. And let me get a little more information about this on the screen here. One moment, please. And one moment. There we
go. While police fire deflects the robbers' attention, Van Nuys officers Todd Schmitz and Anthony Kabunik attempt to rescue wounded officer Martin Whitfield. But as they enter the strike zone, they discover Officer Stuart Guy pinned down in the parking lot.
There's Anthony Kabunik and Todd Schmitz lift Stuart into the back of the police car and backed out of that parking lot as fast as they could. Without regard for their own safety, those two officers basically braved the gunfire to find downed officers.
Officer Schmitz and Kabunik then hear a distressing call from the dentist's office. They drive back through the kill zone to rescue Officer Zaborovan and Detective Krulak.
I remember, laying face down on the gurney in the back of the ambulance.
And there's some information. Some incredible rescue procedures took place against heavy fire from the bank robbers. And eventually the bank robbers made it out of the bank, and one of them got into a vehicle, and let me get that on the screen here. One moment, please. And here's some additional video. And
everybody down traffic getting fired. One suspect is possibly injured inside the vehicle, and one is outside the white vehicle to the rear of the bank.
Phillips appears unfazed as officers shoot out the tires on the getaway car.
We've got one suspect on foot. We've got one suspect driving the white vehicle.
Madasaranu continues to drive, while Phillips ducks behind a tractor trailer.
The suspect on foot is behind a long front trailer rig.
We left the backyard and we headed up the street to cut them off. I was met by Officer Caparelli, who was running away from the corner and shooting back behind him. He ran by me. I said, "What are you shooting at?" He said, "There's another one. He's under that truck."
I don't remember exactly what I told him, but that's at that last few moments when Larry Phillips was walking towards us. I said, this is it. I'm going to feel him hit me. I'm going to go down right here. And the second I turned, there was actually a fire hydrant right to my left. And I just jumped over the hydrant and I ran across the street.
The cold-blooded killer fires his AK-47, but the weapon jams. Police call.
And that's a little more information about how they escaped. Looks like they got separated, one in the car, one ended up behind a truck. Moments later, he could not get his AK-47 functional, and so he used a handgun and was reloading. And some people say he took his own life. Other people said his gun just accidentally misfired, but he was killed. And a few minutes later, his partner, who was driving the white car you saw moments ago, drove into a neighborhood, and he eventually shot it out with police and was hit, I think, 29 times in the leg, and they couldn't get rescue in right away because of all the shooting and stuff, so he also died. Well, anyhow, as a result of this particular shootout, now police officers in California now have more high-powered weapons, and some of the police officers who were involved in this incredible shootout actually once met President Clinton as they were invited to the White House. And at the Los Angeles Police Museum, there's some exhibitions that pertain to this particular shootout. And it is quite a shootout, and as you can see, some of the video I showed you was quite dramatic. But anyhow, if you've heard about this case before, hopefully it's a quick flashback. If not, hopefully I was able to get everything in here in an informative review. And that should do it. Let me get a final screen on here. One moment, please.